Uh, just to sort of wrap it up with Cinderella Man, as we talked about challenging shot from an emotional standpoint. You talked about shooting in the boxing ring, and we talked about lighting. Anything else that you can, one element of the entire production that you can remember where it was
Well,
like, how we're gonna
y-
do this?
what was interesting, well, how we were going to do this, well, the boxing was a big challenge in that sense.
Yeah,
Um, but what happened was, and when we were in prep, Russell had an injury. So we wound up having to basically shut most of the production down for 7 weeks for him to rehab that injury
right.
before we started filming. This was all before we started filming. And we had the apartment set built already on our stage, and our offices happened to be in this studio we were filming in had offices above the stages. So Ron and I continued the prep during that 7 weeks. We'd have storyboard meetings and figure out the boxing and stuff. And then when we had a little time, I used to go and sit on that set and already dressed. It had all, it was, so depressing in its way. And I kind of thought like, wow, what is it going to feel like? How can I make the audience feel like what it's like to be here? So the more I thought about it, the more I came up with a rule that camera would never break the walls. It always had to be in the apartment. The lens can never go outside that wall. So that forced me to be on certain lenses. It forced me to have limited angles at times. We designed the set for walls to move, the ceiling to come off, to do an overhead. And I realized, that is going to take us out of the reality of it. So there was only the front door to go in and out of to come onto the stage. And it got to a point where the crew's like, Sal, we can't get equipment in and out fast enough for you because there's no place on the set to stage, equipment and stuff on the set itself. On the stage, there was. So I allowed them, there's a little closet in the back, and I allowed them to take the wall off the closet so they could use that as an entry and exit point onto the set. And I kept that lens inside that set
Hmm.
for all the scenes. And if you really like look at that set and break it down, you'll knowing it consciously now, what I did subconsciously to the audience was I put them in there and
You most
they
certainly did.
feel emotionally like what it was like for Jim Braddock and his wife. And so that was, I was very heavily on that rule. It's like, I'm not taking the wall off. I'm not going to take a wall off. There was once or twice where I was like, can we get a wide shot back in? I'm like, that lens has to stay on the set. And I'll be like, this is the widest I could give you. And
That
Ron's like, okay, great, no problem. Get it.